and welcome to ALAH, a podcast where we break down and discuss all things athletic here at Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond High School. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Jace Green, and today our main topic of discussion is how the indoor season went this year. So let's hop right into it. First meet of the year, we were in Charleston at Eastern. So a few years back, this was the only indoor meet that we'd go to unless you qualified for top times, which not many people did historically in our program. But I thought we did pretty well. We held our own. Being one of the few 1A schools there, I think we were 13th as a team, which is, pretty impressive. Having guys that can show up and actually score points is big for a 1A school, but score enough points to place high enough, I think that's really impressive. So going into this, there wasn't a lot of confidence, especially speaking from myself as a distanceman. We had a great cross-country season, but we weren't really sure how that was going to translate to track. I was coming off basketball. I didn't know how in shape I was. And we were hoping to have a Mount Zion meet before it, but it got canceled due to ice on the roads. So we were really unsure, especially to just dive right into a meet of this caliber, but I think we really held our own. So for some of our new guys, this was their first ever track meet, or first track meet of high school. Trey Wardrop, he was still figuring out high jump. I think he'd only high jumped 4 or 5 times before this meet. I think he got 5.2. He was happy with it. Really not a lot of expectation for him, but a lot of room for improvement and a lot of potential for improvement. So that was good. Gavin Meckling, I remember we watched him in the 4x2, and in the 4x4 actually. I was really impressed with his run. Had no idea. You'd seen him play soccer, but soccer's a lot different than track. So, I was impressed. I think he split a 101, and for that point in the season, that was really good. Ryan Appleby, they threw him in the hurdles, in the 60 hurdles. A lot higher than what he was used to, also a lot shorter than what he was used to. He didn't completely embarrass himself. Of course, it's hard to embarrass Ryan Appleby. Garrett Castile, still figuring out the long jump, still is figuring out the long jump up till today, but can't really complain. So, my performances, the 4x8 we ran first, and we'd had a pretty good 4x8 last year. We lost 2 of our guys. So last year we had Reggie Edmonds, and then we'd do Austin Plank, Jacob Duzan, and myself. Well, Austin Plank graduated. Reggie Edmonds' knee is injured, so we were replacing them. We brought in Logan Beckmeyer as our leadoff guy, which he's a great distance runner. The 800 might be a little bit on the short end for him, but he's still pretty good at it. Second leg was Lyle Adcock, who hadn't run an 800 since junior high, since that was the second longest distance you can run in junior high. Also never run a relay, so it was interesting. And then we kept Jacob Duzan as the third leg and myself as the anchor. And we ran a 8:55 to get a decent placing. We weren't really expecting much, but we did better than we'd expected. Logan split at a 2:11. Lyle split at a 2:19, which, again, he was our slowest split, but he hadn't run an 800 in 3 or so years or something like that. Jacob split a 2:10, and then I split a 2:09. I think that gets us to 8:55. Correct me if my math is wrong, but so not too bad. And then I ran the mile later on that day, which this mile was just jam-packed with top-end talent. So there were a couple other guys in there, and I myself, I forget my placing, but it doesn't really matter. I ran a 4:42, and that was the second fastest mile I'd run of all time, and fighting through that pack, I was pretty happy with myself. So, moving on to our next meet. We finally got to go to Mount Zion for the second meet, which this meet, it was a decent-sized meet, but it's not really one that we were caring about all that much. We kind of treated it like one of those smaller ones. So I was entered in the 1600, the 800, and the 4x8. I ended up running 4 events, but that's a story for a little bit later. So in the 800, I was just supposed to go out there and pace Jacob Duzan, which I did, and I think I ended up beating him. I got a 2:10, which was a decent time. And then in the mile, man, I'll tell you, my legs hadn't recovered from that Saturday. I think that was on a Thursday following that Saturday, and I ran a 4:54. Kind of an embarrassing time there, but our 4x8, again, actually we didn't run our 4x8. never mind, I lied to you there. But so for our other guys, I mean, they just performed just about as well as they did at the U of I, or at Eastern, if not better. So you can't really complain about anything. And then towards the end, we had a lot of sprinters entered in a lot of events, so they were all worn out. And so the very last event, of course, is the 4x4. And all of a sudden, all the guys we had in our 4x4 had to scratch, whether it be an ankle injury or just whatever, just had run one too many races. So Logan Beckmeyer and I had just finished the mile, and we were angry with ourselves because of how we did, and we were outkicked and whatever. So we were like, we'll run the 4x4. So we ran our 4x8 guys, Logan, Lyle, Jacob, and myself, in the 4x4, and I think we ended up getting 4th. We won our heat by quite a bit, but I mean, I don't know, it was just kind of fun. Just a really fun story. So, next meet, our last indoor meet before top times, we were at the U of I at the Gene Armour Invitational. So this is a huge meet. I don't think we'd ever gone. Maybe a Hall boy had gone, or Kenley Nettles in the past just as an individual, but this is the first time bringing a team, I believe, and we really needed to run some good times to get ourselves established for top times, and I'll cover our stories on that throughout the indoor season here in just a little bit. But Jacob Duzan, as far as the distance guys go, Jacob Duzan was entered in the 800, I was in the 1600, Logan was in the 3200, and then we had our 4x8. Since you could only enter one entry per event, we were kind of limited there. And our 4x8, instead of having Logan in it, since it was really close to the 32, we put Jacob Adcock in as his replacement, which again, he has never run an 800 before, never run a relay. He only had to worry about one handoff since he was leading off, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But we were kind of disappointed with our time. I mean, it's just the way it fell. The way the chips fell, we didn't have all of our top guys in there, so we weren't expecting a PR, but we were expecting to do better than we did. We ran a 9:12, which, whatever. Just those kinds of races happen every once in a while. So we had in our 60, Max Duzan, he's not running track. Max Allen ran the 60, and he placed really well. He got a 7.34 was his time, and that was enough to get him to top times. So that was really cool. It got him to the finals at U of I, and then that qualified him for top times. I think he ran the 400. He ran really well there. And the 200, he performed well. But that's Max Allen, of course. He's going to be lightning fast all the way around. In the 32, Logan was aiming for a sub-9, which he'd only done once, and it was outdoors. I think he hit 9:12, which he was disappointed in, but for what the meet was, it wasn't too bad of a run. And then I ran a 4:41, a 1-second improvement, but on the top times list, that knocked me up, I think, 4 or 5 spots, and that kept me in the hunt for top times. So let's talk about top times. It's also referred to as Indoor State, hosted by Illinois Wesleyan. They just invite the top 12 to 15 to 24 runners, depending on the event, in each event for Class 1A. So we were able to bring quite a few guys. We brought our 4x8 team. We brought Logan Beckmeyer in the 32. I squeezed in there in the 1600. Landon Waldrop got in the triple jump. Max Allen got in there in the 60, the 200, and the 400, and he was ranked high in 2 of those events. And then for the girls, Alexa Miller made it in the 60 in the triple jump. So at top times, Max ran first. He was in the 60. He wasn't expecting to do much, and he didn't. I mean, he PR'd. He had a 7.32, I believe. So he can't really complain all that much, but whatever, though it's not his event. Logan Beckmeyer was next. He ran really well. His time slipped my mind, but he ended up in 7th place. Again, that really hot top-end talent with 15 guys on the starting line. It was, a lot to weave through. Our 4x8 team, we were back to full strength, but Logan was worn out because he had literally just finished the 32, then towed the line, so he split a 2:15 as our leadoff. Lyle Adcock split a 2:16, so that was kind of a PR for him. Jacob Duzan splits a 2:12, and then I went 2:09 to get us 8th place. So we were the last. We got a medal, but barely. We beat Tuscola. We were really proud of that. It's always nice when you can beat Tuscola in anything. And then I ran the 16. I wasn't happy with my run. I got a 4:42 again, which, whatever. I'll make my excuse. I was too little and I was getting shoved around, but you can't really make that excuse. My excuse was it's March 29th or whatever date it was. And we've got a long time until Memorial Day weekend. So we'll get that fixed up, and I'll get a little bit better than 11th place next time. Max Allen gets 8th, I think, or 7th in the 200, but he was worn out from winning the 400. He wins it in a 51.75. Landon lands right outside of scoring in 9th place on triple jump. Alexa gets 5th in the 60 and 5th in triple jump. So everybody got a medal there except for Landon and myself in our individual events, but we were mighty close. So can't really complain all that much about top times. So ultimately, I'd say our indoor season was pretty good. Everybody performed better than they expected to, I would say. I was really pleased with myself. Didn't PR overall, but had a lot of indoor PRs. I'm ready for outdoor. Our meet today that we were supposed to have got canceled at Okaw Valley, but I'm ready to race here on Saturday when we got our first one. It'll be nice to run on a 400-meter track. That's just about all I got for you for ALH's indoor season. So catch us outside on the track when you can, if you can. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bell Lab.